Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this morning for the briefing on the homeless actions that the county has taken. Before we start, just an introduction. I'm Mark, M-A-R-C, Mora, M-O-R-A. I'm an assistant county manager here with the Lee County government. I would like to start by saying, our actions in the park today are just one of the many things that Lee County is doing to address the homeless issues here in our community. Our Human and Services team does this type of outreach that you saw this morning in the park on a regular basis. We work closely with the Lee County Sheriff's Office to identify hotspots or areas where the homeless are encamped or where there are some concerns, and we have a team dedicated to doing this type of work each and every day in our community. I would like to start just by saying that we were alerted to the park closing, the city-owned park here in downtown, by the city of Fort Myers some time ago. We did not have a definitive date and time and exactly when they were going to close that off by fencing it and locking the gates. That didn't become apparent to us probably till the middle of last week. And at that time, we intensified our outreach actions in the park. And I just want to share with you some of the things that the county has done in partnership with both our continuum of care and our law enforcement. As part of our normal outreach, wherever there are clusters or encampments of homeless, the outreach is comprised of us trying to connect the homeless with the services that are available in our community, both by our providers, churches, other nonprofits, and other municipalities. So to that end, the outreach in the park consisted of our team in conjunction with other partners reaching out to the homeless and providing these services. We're not always successful, but it is our intent to make sure that the homeless understand what's available and make sure they have that opportunity. I want to talk more in particular about our actions over the weekend, yesterday, as well as today. Because of the impending closure, we intensified our outreach to include a team of folks. I think you've heard in the media us talking about the homeless outreach team. We've put together a team very much like that approach with Centerstone, United Way, the Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, and other nonprofits, including Fort Myers Police Department, to get into the park and again offer the services that we have available to the homeless. We've offered them sheltering at both the triage as well as the rescue mission. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't accept it over the last couple of days, but we're persistent. So again, this morning at 7:30 a.m., a team of probably 20 folks went out into the park and again, doubled our efforts in explaining what services are available, what opportunities for sheltering are available to them. It made that direct connection. So again, the partners in the park, in conjunction with Fort Myers Police Department and Lee Tran, was offering the transportation to sheltering. We encountered today roughly a dozen homeless. Each one of them were talked to or communicated with by somebody on our human services staff, as well as our partners. Centerstone, who is our behavioral health consultant, was also in the park working with the homeless. They were all offered, again, sheltering at triage, sheltering at the rescue mission. We were very successful this morning with transporting 5 into either the triage or into rescue mission. With others, we connected in a different way. We also understand that sometimes sheltering is not the only solution. And to that end, talking with the homeless and identifying what it is exactly they need for services, we were able to connect them with either transportation home to their home state or just connecting them with family and providing them transportation to their home here in Lee County. Our plan is to continue to do this type of outreach until all of the folks in the park have a viable place to go. Again, this is not something we did especially because of the problem in the city-owned park here in downtown Fort Myers. This is something we do ongoing. I would also like to talk a little bit about some of the things that our Board of County Commissioners have taken action on, particularly with the CARES Act money that we received from the Housing and Urban Development federal government program. One of them is the HOT team, the Housing Outreach and Treatment Team. That's a law enforcement-led collaborative approach to engaging with the homeless. The idea is bridging the gaps that exist between the services and the homeless in our community. There's sometimes a challenge with communicating what's available for services and connecting them with those things that are available in our community. So to that end, this HOT team is comprised of law enforcement, human services, behavioral health specialists, clinicians, social workers. It's going to be an element of public safety with our EMS team. The idea is those folks would go out on regular missions into homeless camps or wherever the homeless are and connect them with services, diagnose what their needs are, and make sure that we could more rapidly put them into sheltering that they need. I want to talk about sheltering because there is some challenges with sheltering. Capacity was a challenge, particularly because of the pandemic. We saw a lot of our providers either shut or reduce their numbers because of social distancing requirements. So that's an ongoing challenge for us, but working with our partners, in particular the Salvation Army, as well as the rescue mission, we were able to identify additional capacity. So, slowly but surely, as we return to some normalcy, we're hoping that we can continue to expand that capacity. But we know that sheltering is only a transitional piece to permanent housing. The county and our partners, the Continuum of Care, subscribe to a philosophy of housing first, which is a best practice. And that means that folks are not just in shelters, but we're putting them on a pathway for permanent housing and providing them with supportive services so they're self-sufficient. So that's a program that we understand needed some additional enhancement, and part of that CARES Act money is expanding the capacity of that program. What that entails is us finding available units where landlords are willing to open up their units to the homeless and be part of this program. So to that end, we've engaged with additional vendors to help us with that. We've actually bolstered our own internal services to increase that capacity. But not just the capacity, it's the movement off the list of folks that want to get into permanent housing. There has been a growing challenge because of the pandemic of the number of people who want to get into permanent housing, and it's almost grown twofold. So that's another area that we're putting some emphasis on with some of the funding that we're receiving. And I think another exciting development is the the Homeless Resource Center. What we've heard from advocates as well as the homeless is some of the basic needs are not being met. And if they are, it's not coordinated. So the idea here is to establish a centralized location offering a multitude of services for the homeless. It's a day shelter, it's a drop-in type of concept where services such as basic as clothing, food, laundry, haircuts will be available. But more importantly, it's that wraparound that we know is so important for homeless to be successful on their own. And that would include behavioral health counseling. That would include job skills, access to training that makes them a viable person in the workforce. So that concept is something that we think will help address the issues of where are the services being provided, clustering it in a central location. We also were considered about transportation. When you take all these services and cluster them in a central location, how do you get the homeless there? So to that end, we worked on a program with Lee Tran and purchased bus passes. It's called the Fare Assistance Program. So the homeless, the folks that are accessing the day shelter or the Homeless Resource Center, they'll have the ability to get free transportation to and from wherever they might be in sheltering, in housing, but to get to that centralized location for those types of services. So those are three things that we're really excited about working with our partners. And I want to touch on that. Partnership is so important. The county is only one piece of the team. That team includes the municipalities, it includes law enforcement, not just Lee County Sheriff's Office, which have been a great partner to the county, but also Cape Coral, Fort Myers. We've engaged also the University Police, as well as the Port Authority Police. Team, again, going back to the Continuum of Care. The Continuum of Care is a program here in Lee County that's comprised of Lee County's Human Services as a co-lead along with the Homeless Coalition. And they really drive what the plan is in addressing homelessness. But not only homelessness, also homeless prevention. I want to touch a little bit about homeless prevention as well, because some of our CARES Act money the county has been administrating has really done a great job of addressing those who might be at risk of slipping into homelessness. While any amount of homelessness is worrisome, I think more worrisome is the number of people that might slip into homelessness. So some of the programs that we're funding are not only addressing the problem itself, but also preventing the problem from growing. So the homeless prevention programs that both Human Services has, as well as the Elite Cares Act programs that we have done a great job of mitigating the issue. I just want to reiterate that the county is committed to working on solutions for addressing the homelessness situation, and want to reiterate our commitment to working in partnership with all of the folks that are addressing this community issue. You'll continue to see our folks out in the park. You'll continue to see our folks out in all the homeless encampments, doing the work they do day in, day out. We're always looking for new ways and new approaches and best practices. You'll hear that conversation with our board. You'll hear that conversation with our partners. Again, Lee County is here serving the community and doing all of the things that we are capable of doing and able to do in service to the homeless in the entire community.